Hello, it's Betty Shan again. Here I am sitting in my living room with a jacket on. Uh, I think me and Connor's playing a game. He brings the temperature up where it'll be cooler, and I bring it down where it'll be warmer, and we just keep going back and forth with it. And so I decided, well, I'll just end that, and I went and put me a jacket on so I wouldn't be so cold. I'm cold in my own house. But anyway, God's been good to us today. We've had a little bit of a shower. As a matter of fact, it's still cloudy all the way around us, like we could really have a shower. I hope we do. I keep hoping and praying we'll get some rain. But anyway, Lois got on her video today, and she said something about the fact that I used the statement "keep your chin up." She didn't know where that come from. Said maybe someday she'll tell us where that come from, because I end most of my programs that way, because I started doing that, and I thought, well, that's the way I'll end it every time. So everybody will know me by Betty Shan and keep your chin up. So anyway, just something I do. But anyway, how that first time that I ever heard that was my aunt, Geneva Walker. She was one of my favorite aunts, and we called her Aunt Snooky because that was her nickname. But anyway, she bought a wedding Bible for me when I got married in 1968. And on the inside of the cover, she wrote, "Betty, keep your chin up. Love you. Best wishes." And that's all she wrote in that Bible. And she gave it to me for a little wedding gift at my wedding, a wedding Bible. And I've thought of many a time she had more of an insight of what was going to happen in my life than what I had. When you get married, you think everything's going to be roses, but I'm here to tell you it's not always roses. Sometimes you meet with some hard knocks and hard places in life. And I married Mr. Shan. He had been married before. His first wife, Sylvia York Shan, died of cancer, and she left behind two little girls, Lynette and Angela. And so I started out raising them girls, and his mother had them for 2 years before we got married, and then I took the job of raising them. And I didn't only have to deal with the mother-in-law and brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws. I had to deal with her parents, which is Mr. and Miss York, and they had children, and she had several girls, and she had one brother, and so there was problems that created over the years on different ones. Now, not all of them created problems for me. Glenda Dunn was her sister, and she was so sweet and kind to me when we first got married. She come to the house a lot, and she done for my children just like she done for her sister's children. And there was certain ones of them that you just learned to love them like your own family. She was just as close to me as my sister was at the time. But things happened over the years, and like I said, everything is not a mountaintop experience. We meet with things that brings you low and in the valley sometimes. And sometimes them valleys are too wide. You can't seem to get across them. But anyway, we lived, when I got married to Edgel, in 9 months we had a little girl. And her name was Laverne. And so I had three little children, and Edgel that I all had to adjust to, plus all these in-laws and outlaws and kinfolks and different ones of everybody. And but anyway, then after we had Laverne in I say 2 years, but it's 23 months, we had another baby, and it was another girl. So we had the four girls to raise together. And I'm telling you, it wasn't always an easy road. There was mountains to climb that I didn't think I'd ever reach the top of, and there was valleys so low that I didn't think I'd ever get across them. But you know, with God's help and with God's love and God's understanding and with many, many, many a prayer, we finally come through it. But I'm telling you, it wasn't an easy job. I could tell you story after story, and I'm not wanting no pity party. But the two girls, Edgel's two girls, Lynette and Angie, went to live with his mother. After I had them 5 years, they took them and give them to his mother. I couldn't understand all of that. I cried and I cried and I cried. As a matter of fact, I believe I loved the kids before I ever loved him. And but life isn't always easy. But I didn't give up. I didn't throw in the towel. I stuck with him. And I will be honest, I went and hired me a lawyer and talked to a lawyer, and the lawyer told me, said, Miss Shan, if he wants to give his kids to somebody else, let him. Said it'll make your life easier. But that's easier said than done. I cried a many a tear over them two girls because they were my children and they were taken from me. I never understood it. I never got any exclamation for it. I went off to the store and I come back and the two kids had been taken to his mother's because his mother chose to raise them instead of letting me raise them. She felt like that I loved my two kids more than I loved them two kids, and she had raised them for 2 years. So that I'm sure that was something hard for her too at the time. But anyway, life goes on, but that's where the words keep your chin up. And I've had to learn over the years, over and over again, the best thing to do is keep your chin up. I remember one of my girls, Cindy, mentioned to me, said, Mama, said, I remember when we were little, said, all you ever played in the house, said, all we ever heard was gospel music. Said, you played records and CDs and everything, said, it's always gospel music. And I thought, well, honey, you don't know why. If I could only tell you and get you to understand why I played gospel music. But I needed that strength from the Lord to make it day after day after day. And I feel like I made the right choices. I stuck with him. He became more mellow as he aged, and we had a good family. My two the other two girls eventually come back around. They would call me when they were living with their grandmother just to hear me talk to them, and I'd talk to them and let them hear my voice, and that's what they called for. They didn't say anything because they were told not to talk to me, and so that hurt. But we'd see them at the store, and they'd go around the corners and look at us. And I'll never forget little Cindy. She was 2 years old. She come running around the corner and said, Mama, did you see them people? Did you see them little girls? They just looked at us, and they looked so silly. And just not even really knowing who her sisters was. And really the whole outcome of this is after about 3 months, he come to me and told me, he said, I've made the worst mistake in my life. And I agree with him. He made the worst mistake in his life. Not for us necessarily, but he made it because of the other two girls. And of course, we lost the one girl, the oldest girl, Lynette, was killed in a car wreck. Her and then Angela's boy was with Lynette at the time, and he was killed in the car wreck. So anyway, life has been hard, and it's sometimes them mountains do get too high, and sometimes them valleys are too wide. And if it wasn't for Jesus, we would never make it. But you know, you have to forgive sometimes when you just really don't want to forgive. And I had my mother-in-law come to me later and tell me, she said, I shouldn't have ever done what I done. I shouldn't have ever done it. And I just looked at her and said, but you did. And it's hurt many a people, but it's hurt the girls worse than it hurt anybody. And I still love Angela, and I still love Lynette. Of course, Lynette's gone, but I love her family. And truly today, sometimes we have to give of ourselves when we don't feel like giving of ourselves. We have to let things go when we really don't want to let things go because they've hurt us so bad. But you know, at the end, when it's all washed up and poured out, you get the place. It doesn't matter. It's the thing of it is, I didn't have no ought in my heart toward my mother-in-law when she passed away, and I helped with her, and I also helped with my father-in-law. And God's been good to me, and I want to let you know that if you're going through things when it seems like your world's at a high point and you can't live life anymore, never forget that Jesus is with you and he will help you. You just have to call on him and you have to believe. And you have to believe that he knows what he's doing, that he's got it all in control. And truly tonight, I believe God had it all in control. It took a long time to get over. It took years for things to work out, but eventually it all worked out. And I'm glad that I didn't run. They would have been two other children without their daddies. And I stuck with it, and I prayed, and I prayed, and I prayed. And God's seen me through it, and I appreciate him for it. And if you're going through something today, just put your trust and your confidence in God, because that is your only answer. And keep your chin up, have a good day, and live for the Lord.